I thought I married the best woman story. Here is the deal. I married the woman of my dreams when I was 18. She and I have 2 children. One is 17 and the other is 23. We have had our ups and downs, and by no means am I an angel. We moved to Chicago about 10 years ago from my hometown in Florida. I took a job and promised my wife that I would be the best husband and father that I could be. See, I used to be a bad guy with computers and never had a sense of real responsibility until I moved to the north. She is from here and she moved to my hometown in Florida when she was 16. As I said, we moved here about 10 years ago, and like anyone else, I ride the train, I work a full-time job and do what I have to do to live a normal and productive life. Last December, I found out by sheer accident that she had been rekindling old times with an old boyfriend, and I read all of their messages to and from each other. She had told him that he was the love of her life and she had always been looking for him. From what I know, she went to meet him at the local coffee shop, and it was around that time I had found out about their little relationship. I did what I thought was best and interceded and told them both on Facebook that I am giving them 48 hours to end the relationship. They did. She closed her Facebook account and deleted her email. She promised me that she just wanted to feel pretty and wanted and blah blah. But the thing that gets me is that how can I know she is still being honest? How can I know that she is keeping her word? That they actually ended it? I mean, they were on Facebook talking all kinds of stuff like I can't wait to hold you and this, that, and the other. But I could never find any proof that there was any sleeping together. She is a SAHM and I work very long hours providing for her and the kids, but I am not entirely sure they ended it. I mean, it seemed too easy how she just ended it and supposedly cut off communications with this guy. When I found out, I had promised her she had earned a divorce, but this is the woman that I have ever loved. As a matter of fact, I am 42 and it's the only woman that I have ever had been with. So, do I just wonder? Do I watch what she does, or do I just hope for the best and take her word that everything will be okay? Comments. It would seem that you are on a path to rug sweep this, eh? So I'm glad you came to hear. Your wife has cheated on you. You can't be sure it wasn't physical. You can't be sure it has stopped. With her being a SAHM, you'll never be able to completely eliminate her taking this underground, but you can reduce that possibility. You have to give her consequences for what she's done, she has to accept them, and she damn sure better be demonstrating remorse. Here's what you need to do. Expose her to her family, your family, and most importantly the OM's wife or significant other. Don't tell her you're going to do it, just do it. She writes the OM a no-contact letter that you approve of and mail yourself. No sentiments. She regrets what she's done to you and her family. She agrees to demonstrate total transparency. No hidden passwords. No deleting texts. Agrees to regular inspection of her computer and cell. No more FB, at least not for a while. No GNOs, no communication with friends of the opposite sex, and to the extent possible, she accounts for her time away from you. You insist that she gets tested for STD because you have no reason to believe that this wasn't a PA. Without her knowing, get a VAR. Ask her if she would be willing to take a polygraph test to prove this wasn't a PA. If she refuses, tell her you'll have to assume that it was. If she agrees, that's a good sign. Polygraphs may not be terribly reliable, but the threat of one could possibly force a confession from her. You don't have to go through with it, but at least ask her if she would be willing. Do your research and make your own decision about that. If it were me, I would insist that she take one if she didn't confess. Tell her that the chances of you sticking around will depend on her willingness to accept these consequences and demonstrate consistent remorse for what she's done to you. That's the blueprint. OP. What is she doing to make up for her straying? Is she actively trying to atone, or did she basically just say sorry, and then proceeded to lay low hoping it would all blow over? I know it's not up to you to help her, but are you perhaps arranging for some special time with her to make her aware again of how much you love her? Perhaps she was feeling ignored by you and wanted some attention. True, the manner in which she got attention was the worst possible. Well, with the exception of it turning physical. But maybe all she needs is to be reassured of your love for her. Since I don't really know your situation, I'm only guessing. It could very well be that you've showered her with affection and attention, and she only wanted some variety in her life. Well, does she know that divorce can definitely lead to variety, but without you there to provide it for her? Good luck in your future with her. I truly hope it works out for you too. OP responds. I wonder too if she would have taken it to the next level, and will always have that in the back of my mind. It sucks so bad that I spend my days in the office wondering what she is doing at home. I will be watching her and she knows I am watching every move she makes, so she is for the most part that is. Bedroom became a chore and I hardly would get any romantic with her, and that is what I think she was missing. I have rekindled the romance part and showed her very well that I can still turn the fire on and will. As I stated, I was no angel, and I think that if I would have showered her the way I used to, her would have never looked in that direction to begin with. Though this guy was an old boyfriend that supposedly got away, and he was in the picture with her before she moved to Florida. It was one of my worst fears that we would move back here and some old BF would sweep her off her feet, and that seemed to have happened. but she seems to be very sincere and texts me when she is out and when she comes home now. She calls me now and even writes little love notes in my lunch. For me, the doubt is still there, but it is also with me, and that is for my posting here. I hope this is all behind me, and I hate like heck having to watch her with GPS and VAR and such, but if that is what will give me peace of mind, then so be it. Thank you so much for everyone posting and contributing. It really means much to me that people actually care for another this day and age. Funny thing though I forgot to mention was last night I borrowed her iPad and all the internet history was deleted, so I told her straight up that if things are to improve, she must not delete any history and provide access to anything I request. She said that my son must have deleted the history when he was using her iPad. I told her that I don't want anyone using her iPad. I also swiped her Kindle tablet and it's here with me at the office charging up so I can go through it today. I also have a surprise for her for tomorrow as she has to drive my son to doctor appointment, and I will trade her my phone with GPS for her phone so she can use my phone's GPS feature to navigate. I am curious to see who calls or texts her phone tomorrow, but as I said, I will trade her at the last minute tomorrow before I get on the train. How this all got discovered. I was checking my brother's Facebook page as he passed last year, so I created a memorial page for him, and when I picked up her Kindle there it all was, all out there. The messed up thing is I actually remembered the guy's name from when I met my wife when I was 17. So, I knew exactly who it was. She had got sloppy and forgot to set a password on her Kindle, but by golly her iPad was locked down. I am trying so hard to get past this and recover my marriage. Throughout this whole ordeal though I have remained a true gentleman when speaking with her, and even when I confronted the other guy I spoke with poise and dignity. Although I couldn't sleep for close to 5 days. Sheer exhaustion finally laid me out. And the fact that it was right before Christmas just made it all the while worse. Probably the worst holiday season I can ever remember. Thank you for your advice, and everyone else here. It is very touching to see other humans helping one another. P.S. I had a Facebook account for a few years, but when an old girlfriend came messaging me, I simply deleted the account. It's been over 2.5 years since I have had a FB account. Funny thing is my kids do not use social media, and I advised the wife to get the heck off of it as well, but now she had to learn the hard way that when you open those old memories, they crash your current life. Couple months later update. We are rediscovering ourselves and having fun doing it. While I am 100% convinced, she has been honest with me and has proven to me without a shadow of a doubt that her and I are stronger than ever. I still will be keeping tabs for the foreseeable future. I am quite and honestly thankful to the people who helped me through probably the suckiest times in my life. Weightlifter, thank you so much for your help. Everyone else who contributed to my original posts, thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. It is very seeing true humans at their best, helping others who are probably at their lowest point in life. Whether or not your marriage fails or what, there is a chance with the yêus and them actually working to make your marriage stronger. In my case, my wife was and has admitted that she was falling for old feelings she had when she was 16 and had a crush on some old boyfriend. She admitted that it was too easy to be drawn into those old feelings, and from the extensive research I invested since this all begun, it seems a lot of couples break up due to FB and old flames. Mine was rather typical. Spouse at home being ignored and seeking others for that lack of attention. I admit, I was not paying enough attention to her, and I had, I supposed, started to take my wife and the reasons we were together and married for granted. I have been with my wife since I was 17 and I am now 42. She has and will be the only woman I will ever love. While I am most thankful to the people here, I hope to never ever see anyone from here again. Please men, think before you react and always remember that cool heads prevail. Story 2. My upside down world. I call my D-Day November 9th. I have just come home after walking our child to school that morning. My mobile rang when I was barely through the door. It was a woman on the other end, an unfamiliar voice. It was all pretty confusing to me at first. It was from his phone number. At first, she tried to make it sound as if it was I who made the call. I was utterly confused. After repeatedly pointing out to her that I did not make that call, she said, "Oh, it was a missed call then and I'm just calling back. Do you understand?" This must have gone on for a good few minutes and then, it clicked. I felt the most awful feeling in the pit of my stomach and asked, "Who are you?" Her answer, "My name is X. I'm his wife for the last 2 years." I was shell-shocked. It was as if someone has just informed me, he has died. The whole teleconversation lasted for 47 minutes and 58 seconds. I shed no tears. I did not raise my voice nor call her by any name, not even when she tried to provoke me by repeating, "What are you going to do now as a 40-something-year-old woman with a child? And by the way, I'm 21. She was driven to drive in the dagger in every part of her conversation. I asked for the phone to be passed to him. I had only one question to ask him. I wanted to know if he loves her. No, I didn't get to speak to him. She tried, put the phone loudspeaker on, tried to rouse him from his drunken slumber. He was dead drunk. H is 11 years older than I am. The following 7 days, I was numbed, going about routine with my child in a state of semi-automatism. I did not pick up any calls nor respond to any voice nor text messages from him for a whole week. And when I did, he left a message saying he was on the way home. I said I will send the child away and will only meet him at a neutral venue for a crisis meeting. He turned up, sat down and immediately told his side of the story. I had it all voice recorded. She was 19 when they first met when he was flying in and out of this ex-Soviet bloc country where he spent a lot of time working in 2010. She was a document clerk in his local office there. He said he had never noticed her till about the end of 2010 when, after a presentation he had given, she came up to him, introduced herself and told him how impressed she was with his presentation and how much she liked his voice. He claimed they became friends for about 5 months after that, going out as a group with other company people whenever he was in town, like every month. He thought she was a smart little button stuck in a rut of a country. He offered to sponsor her English classes to better herself. Then the PA started. Sometime in early 2011, he was taken off the project in this ex-Soviet bloc country. He was almost permanently home-based for a few months until he left the company to join another. From the summer of 2011, he was spending more and more time on a new project in the Middle East. This was when he made arrangements for her to reunite with him in the Emirates, and she enrolled into one of the offshore universities there, paid for by him. Fast forward. His story was that he ended the relationship the night before she called me, or maybe he told her of his intention to do so. I don't know what to believe anymore. He said she knew he is married from the word go. He said he realized he overstepped the boundaries of friendship and that she changed from not minding the fact that he is married to insisting on further commitments in the recent months. She was turning up at public places, restaurants, pubs, creating a scene. I swear, till today, I never had any clue that he was leading a double life. Not a clue after analyzing and reanalyzing. I trusted him absolutely and without qualification in the 16 years we are together. I wouldn't have married him if I had a single iota of doubt about his integrity. During our crisis meeting, I set down several mandates. First and foremost, a medical test. Number 2, after finding solace and guidance around here, a NC letter to be handwritten by him. Number 3, that I do not wish for him to take up the second phase of the project after the current one ends in April, May. Yes, they were crying from him. Lots of apologies for the mistake. God, I hate that word, and how he reckons I will never ever trust him again. And that life will be hell and he will accept that for the rest of his life. At this stage, I still wasn't sure whether I am staying or leaving. And at this stage, I only told a handful of people about his pa. On D-Day, our best family friend, who threatened to fly out immediately to be with me and my son if I didn't tell someone in my family. So, I told my dad, just the barest gist, with the don't ask me any questions. It took me another fortnight before I rang up his childhood friend and best mate in the UK. Our families are very close. And then, my brother-in-law, whom I have very high regards for. Fast forward, Christmas holidays. After 3 years of not spending Christmas in the UK, we made arrangements, way before D-Day, to go back for Christmas with his family, mainly for my Phil who is getting on with age and may not have many more summers and winters to go. It was a tough time for me, trying to remain buoyant for our child, for my Phil whom I love very much. Boxing Day, when we were all supposed to gather at father-in-law for a big happy family slap-up, on that morning, out of the blues, I asked him for his Hotmail account password. He provided it without hesitation. I went on it. It was like my 9/11 happening all over again. I went through every single one of their email correspondences from 2011 to very early 2012 and couldn't stomach the sleazy undertones and the amount of plotting to get to see each other. I cried all the way on the drive to my father-in-law's. I was an absolute wreck. As I later told my sister-in-law, I was capable of only 2 bodily functions that day: crying or throwing up. Fast forward. By New Year, when we were back home, we have sort of agreed to go on our mode. On New Year Day, he wrote a NC letter, without my dictating to him the contents. In a nutshell, reiterating that their relationship is deemed to be over and that there should be no contact by electronic means or in person, that he intends to fully concentrate on his family, especially on his marriage, and that there will be no further funding of her education. This NC letter, I told him, will be sent via my solicitor. Also, at this stage, I have included another non-negotiable mandate to our process. Mandate number 4. We have 2 fully paid-up properties in joint names. I asked that he transfers his 50% share to me, for safekeeping. He agreed, though he did question the benefits of doing so, insisting that he would never dream of jeopardizing our family assets. I had to remind him that I, for one, have never dreamed that he was capable of such betrayal in the first place. Whilst yes, he couldn't have offloaded the properties without my consent, he could have willed his 50% to a third party without my knowledge. Fast forward. Letter of NC finally FedEx out by my solicitor on the 19th of this month. We have a family wedding on Thursday, the 24th, an appointment with my solicitor set up for the transfer of properties on the 25th. After the family wedding dinner, we adjourned for some drinks. By the time we actually got home, he had too many pints. That night, he cried and cried. I have never seen him in that state before. He confessed that even though they are no longer in contact, he admitted she texted him twice since 9/11, but he didn't respond. He felt unable to let go of the emotional ties. He said he loves me and our child to bits. He said she loves him to bits and is waiting for him to go back to her. He thinks he sold her a dream of education, a better life. And he thinks he should fulfill his bond to support her. He said he was all she has left. He said that for the last few weeks, his mental state of mind has been affecting his work and he is in a state of depression. His sister and our family friend chortled when I told them about this latter part. They reckon he is playing the poor little me card. The next morning, Friday, we headed off to my solicitor's office. He signed the memorandum of transfer to the properties. On the drive home, I noticed his clenched fists on the steering wheels. I asked him what's the matter. He angrily replied that he has just signed away what he has worked hard for in the last 38 years. It breaks my heart. I told him that I have absolutely no intention of doing anything with the brick and mortars, that I am holding the assets in trust, for him, for our child. I offered to reverse the procedure. He said no, what done is done. Actually, I have already instructed my solicitor to draw up my will. Should anything be to happen to me, all assets are to go to our child when he turns 27. I appointed H's brother and a very close family friend as our child's legal guardian, trustee, and executor of my will. None from my own family is mentioned in it. I phoned my sister-in-law this evening after he left for the Middle East again today. I gave her the latest updates of our sad saga, our conversation on Thursday night, the signing of the transfer forms on Friday. I assured her that I have no intentions of taking advantage of her brother. She knows I truly love him and understands that if I want to play dirty, I would have served him the D papers after he relinquished his share of our properties to me. She says she would do exactly the same thing and her brother is truly an idiot and needs to wake up and stop being too selfish. And she again apologized for her brother's disgusting behavior. Right now, I am totally, absolutely drained. Mentally, physically. I have said to family and close friends who are in the know of his Pia and I have said to him, I will never fight for this marriage for the sake of my child. My dad was a serial philanderer. My mum stayed married to him, to quote her, for the sake of me and my brother. My dad never changed his ways and only stopped after his dosh ran out after his retirement, and I ended up having to pay for my mum's shrink bills in her twilight years as she rues for her lost youth and is battling depression. On the other hand, if I opt to walk away, I would do it because of my child. I have asked myself what example I am setting for him by staying. Until today, I still haven't. Couldn't call him nor her by any name, in person nor in my private thoughts. It is just not me. Until today, I have never examined his passport pages nor our bank statements, latter of which are usually lying around in our study in the open. It irks me to learn that she has once rifled through his passport pages and went berserk upon finding out that he wasn't where he said he was. Someone pointed out to me that denotes serious trust issue between them. I can't write anymore. I'm tired but relieved that I finally got around to writing this down. My son is not told yet. I intend to take him back to the UK during his 1-week midterm so that he can spend some time with STBXH's family before breaking the news to him when he is surrounded by people who love him to bits. As for STBXH, I don't know. I don't really care. His first reaction was, where do I go? Still the nice person, I gave him the keys to an apartment of ours which is in between tenancy. It is fully furnished so he is not exactly slumming it. My son is and has always been my priority. No question about it. STBXH's siblings have been in the loop since DD1. I informed them immediately on DD2. He has avoided any kind of contact with them ever since he knew that they knew. His family is big on birthdays, anniversaries, and such from time immemorial. This year is the only year neither one of them nor their children sent him a card. His father did, 'cause he is not in the know. From DD1 onwards, STBXH and his family have said that it will kill my father-in-law if he were to find out. We are very close and the old man ends every phone conversation with me with, love you, pet. Was afraid when STBXH said he will fly back to tell his father. I don't want to devastate my father-in-law nor do I want his son to sugarcoat the situation. I warned his siblings, to which his sister said she is very sure he wouldn't dare to come home now because he knows he won't getting any sympathies from them. My brother-in-law is the child's legal guardian in my will, and he had in his safe box all documented evidence of his brother's adultery. He is one hardworking family man who takes no crap from anyone. So, hopefully formal papers will be prepared by end of this month. I shall take the boy back to see grandpa and uncle and aunt and cousins, and I will break the news to boy and grandpa. It's been nearly a week since we got home. I ended up not saying a word to father-in-law. I just didn't have the heart to. He was so happy when we were back, was invited to private dinners, separately, with my Sil and Bill. The support from them both was tremendous. Sil said her brother had never dared to utter a word over Christmas period as to why I was so very upset. She said he knew that if he did, he would never get out of the country alive. I expressed my concern to brother-in-law that STBXH will not respond to D petition. He assured me if that happens, to let him brother-in-law know. He said he will call his brother to tell him that he has messed about enough and to stop messing about now. Strangely, father-in-law did not bring up the subject of his son at all during our stay there. I expected him to ask if his son would join us later, like before, or if we were catching up with him when our flight stopovered. The day we flew out, I left Phil a Father's Day card, in advance, pre-written before the trip. Signed just me and my boy. STBXH should be receiving the first letter from my lawyers this week, if not early next. He has 30 days to respond to a request for joint petition according to agreeable terms, failing which, I will file for unilateral petition and I will not hesitate to name O as co-respondent. Oh, but whatever, since DD2, I had 2 brief text messages from STBXH which I ignored. Last night, I received an email off him saying, "Hope everyone is okay. Was wondering if you might allow me to have my Hotmail account back. Thanks." Well, I have downloaded enough from that account to form a full hardcover ring binder file. Both his siblings have a copy. In fact, on DD2, when I threw the file in front of him, he stared at it and said to me, "Are you trying to send me to the gallows?" I looked him in the eyes and told him that he's doing that very well on his own and nothing in the file has been fabricated. I wonder now why he wants his email account back, bearing in mind that he had no access to it in the last 5 months plus. Updates. Haven't posted for a long while. My child and I are away on summer holidays now. Our first stop was Barcelona. On our second night there, out of the blues, and with the help of my second glass of vino, I looked him in the eyes and decided, the time has come. No pre-written script, no more trepidation, no more fretting what was going through his mind. Does he ever wonder why he hasn't heard a pip from his dad for the last 3 months? I saw how much I really love this little fella. He should be told the truth. You do realize, right, that your dad and I were having some difficulties? Son, slight nod of the head. Well, I'm sorry. It is not working out. Son, silence. Whatever happens, I will make sure that Dad sees you at least once a month. Do you miss Dad? Son, very slight nod of the head. But I miss the dog the most. Do you know that Uncle and Uncle Best Friend have promised me that they will be there for you forever? Son, oh, cool. I like to have 2 more fathers. 2 months later, where do I begin? Feeling absolutely horrible right now, but nothing to do with STBXH. The weekend before we were due to fly back from the UK, I was told by Sil and Bill that Phil already knew way back in June when we made the half-term trip. Well, he was suspicious, but he didn't want to broach the subject with me. He waited until we left and he accosted his 2 kids at home and asked them what's going on. Seems that Sil, after conferring with Bill and got his consensus, decided to tell him the truth. Even the part that OW is 22. Sil described her dad as being bloody infuriated. While we were still there but traveling to other parts to meet up with friends, Phil gave STBXH's business card to his other son, with the instruction, ask him to call soonest. To recap, his son hasn't called home to speak to his dad, nor any member of his family, since early March. Bill then emailed STBXH to tell him, "Call home please. Dad wants to speak to you." It took him almost a week to call his dad. Phil didn't narrate much about the phone conversation, just that he asked STBXH what the hell is going on. It seems STBXH said to his dad, "It's a long story. I'll explain it to you when I see you face to face." No mention of when he is making that trip home though. His own best mate warned me that it is very likely that he will put a different spin to his story. Sil told Bill she bets his version will be the world according to STBXH. I'm not breaking my head over that. Got in touch with my solicitor, or rather, solicitor got in touch with me the week I came home, September 6th. He got an email off STBXH about letter of demand for the boys' school fees, saying he has just received it due to his busy work schedule. He forgot to mention that he was actually holidaying with OW in Bali and Singapore, and that he was disappointed at such short notice, and that funds have been transferred to my account. Bear in mind that letter of demand was emailed to him by solicitor on 6th of August, and he did receive and read the email sent by his brother to the same address. I told my solicitor he is a bloody pathological liar. Solicitor also informed me that STBXH is taking me to task for defamatory statements made about O1 cheater vial. He implied that statements were inaccurate and that I made mention of government agencies etc. Cut the long story short, I told him, look, I didn't know this woman ever existed. What I know came from the mouth of STBXH and the 6 inches thick file of email correspondence between them. Copy of latter also in the hands of Sil and Bill. Read it and see I have made no mention of any government agency whatsoever, only her full name and nationality. Guess who is crapping in his pants right now about possibility of getting entangled with government agencies? Speaking of which, I think STBXH really thinks I am capable of reporting him to authorities because I discovered that they vacated their love nest to move into another apartment, this time registered under her name instead. I am really trying very hard to brace myself physically and mentally for the battle ahead whilst altogether getting on with life with my son. New school year has just started and everything is in full swing. Son is still doing canny here. I am proud of him. Today he told me that he is voted in as the house captain again. End of last week, I emailed my final instructions to my solicitor for settlement proposal and another letter of demand for the shortfall in the boys' school expenses. I refuse to be drawn into his childish allegation of non-access to child and me defaming his paramour on the internet. As a matter of fact, I told my solicitor to tell him sue me. I dare her to travel here to instigate a legal proceeding. I will give myself till Friday before I get in contact with my solicitor again. Most likely, I will instruct him to go ahead and file unilaterally despite STBXH's agreement to do it as a co-petition. He wanted to use the same lawyer and mediate on the settlement, but he hasn't paid his retainer yet nor has he responded to solicitors' correspondence since the school fees issue. I think he will flip big time when he got wind of my proposed settlement offer. I am still seeing my IC once a month now. Last visit, 2 weeks ago, he told me that from day one, he finds that I'm a very processed person. I jokingly asked him, do you mean processed or possessed? And he says it sounds as if my son takes after me in his resilience in handling this tragic state of affairs. At this moment in time, I can say for certain that things have got to such a state that I don't ever want to see nor speak to STBXH again. I am willing to handle communication with regard to the child via email or other electronic means. The person I married is dead and gone. I don't know this person anymore. I shall allow myself to grief once the ink is dry on the piece of paper. Final update. Final version of our expenses list and the go-ahead to the following. 1. Filing of unilateral petition based on breakdown of the marriage on grounds of adultery of respondent with Miss X, passport number provided. At an address in the UAE to be provided for in due course. The address is one of my last ammunitions as he doesn't know I know where he installed his mistress. And if he knows I know, he will start crapping his pants as to whether I will go to the extent of ringing up the friendly coppers. 2. Filing of interim maintenance and child support. 3. Full custody of child. I don't see him fighting this. As a matter of fact, I am not supposed to know where he has taken himself underground now. But I do know but will plead ignorance to the court for now. 4. Temporary injunction to prevent the child being taken out of the country by respondent. 99% not likely but one always fears the 1% chance. I said to the solicitor last Friday that I am tired of waiting for him to do the honorable thing. He is not treating the situation with any sense of urgency nor degree of importance. And that even though I have not got a boy waiting at the helm. Unlike you know who, I was really looking forward to a Merry Christmas. I want to move on. I was never a good chess player. I don't want to be part of STBXH's game anymore. Also told my solicitor that he is free to pass my number along to any potential candidate of a boy when it is all done and dusted. My wedding anniversary was a few days ago. I don't want to say our wedding anniversary. No, I didn't cry. In fact, I think I am well into the self-preservation mode now cause I only briefly recalled some of the guests who turned up and not much of anything else. No trigger, no emotion, and I didn't even have a drink to desensitize at all. My comment, how you guys like 2 stories with happy endings? Tell me how you like it down below, sub and bell and see you in tomorrow's stories.